Welcome to another edition of the Truth Zone. As always, this is your host, Truth Seeker here. And as always, there is a lot of strange and weird and eerie things happening. And the first subject I wanted to discuss in today's show is the weather and weather manipulation. And in the near future, it might be near impossible for people like me and others like me to even question what is happening with the weather, because they may be coming after people like me and lumping us together with a certain group in order to take all of us down. Anybody that questions what is going on with the weather and if there is any foul play involved. And the first clip I'm going to show you, he breaks it down really well and he explains it really well. And you can even go check out his latest show where he talks about this in great detail. But it's a good friend of mine named Minutes of Horror, and he puts out a lot of great information. Go check him out. Go subscribe to him if you have not yet, and just check out his stuff because he puts out a lot of valuable information. But he discusses in this show about what they are doing and how they may be coming after people like me and others like me who question things, who question what they could potentially be doing with the weather. Check out this clip.
Now, I'm reading this article from CNN. It was published on May 5th. There are other news agencies talking about this, but the title of this article happens to be, "A militarized conspiracy theorist group believes radars are weather weapons and is trying to destroy them." Do you see what they're trying to do here? They want to make it so, and again, when I'm talking about they, I'm talking about the so-called powers that be, those who control the media, three-letter agencies, organizations, and so forth. But they want to make it so that if you talk about weather manipulation, if you talk about certain news articles that you've read about them spraying Satan in the air to, again, manipulate the skies and things like that, if you talk about certain topics where nature just doesn't seem so natural, well, they're going to lump you in this group, this militarized conspiracy theorist group. And if you get the keyword, a militarized conspiracy theorist group, so they're going to go ahead and consider this group to be a terror group, and anybody talking about the weather that does not fit the mainstream narrative will now be considered talking in a very dangerous way. When it comes to people talking about the weather in a more, in their eyes anyway, a conspiratorial light, they'll be kicked off social media, their channels will be removed and banned, just like we saw with many channels that had fallen during the C-19 and certain things that were said. But anyway, let's go ahead and continue reading the article. That's just me talking out loud. National Weather Service offices around the country are on guard after recent threats to agency infrastructure, specifically Doppler weather radars, from a violent militia-style group, emails from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration Security Office shows. So just randomly, out of the blue, this this conspiracy theorist group just decided to target National Weather Service offices. Interesting, just very interesting timing. The group Veterans on Patrol, which the Southern Poverty Law Center defines as an anti-government militia organization, views the NWS network of Doppler radars as weather weapons, according to an internal NOAA email sent Monday and seen by CNN. Now look, it's always very possible that this group, Veterans on Patrol, they are a legit group that was infiltrated by members of a certain three-letter organization unbeknownst to them, and these certain members are trying to bring them down. Or it's always very possible that this group, Veterans on Patrol, the entire group, is a three-letter organization group trying to sow chaos, so certain things being said online are heavily censored, like the subject of weather manipulation. Because by now, any rational thinking person should know that threatening to do harm, threatening violence, or threatening to damage infrastructure will only make you a bigger target and make the subject that you're talking about, again, become heavily censored. So there's definitely something wrong about this story. This just sounds like one giant false flag operation with multiple goals. And again, one of the goals is to lump everybody talking about the weather in a non-mainstream way to be a part of this group. No different than when you're talking about something else that sounds quote unquote conspiratorial. You have people out there that'll say, oh, you're just one of those QAnons. You're a part of Q. Well, if you're saying that they're spraying the skies again with a project called Satan, you must be a part of that group called Veterans on Patrol, a violent conspiracy theorist group. It is the oldest trick in the book, and what's crazy is that this old trick happens to work every single time.
As you've seen from that clip, you can go check out his latest show on this. It's a wonderful show. It is just wild how they are doing all of this and how they seem to be ready to take down anybody that questions anything regarding the weather. I mean, come on. As Minutes of Horror put it, it's the oldest trick in the book to lump everybody together with certain groups, like the Q group. And the list goes on and on and on and on, because this is part of their plan, part of their ploy in order to take down people that are really speaking the truth. This is what they want to do, because they only want their narratives out there of what's going on with the weather. They don't want anybody to have a different opinion. They don't want anybody speaking truth. They don't want anybody waking anybody up. And the same can be said for everything else, like politics and everything else. They want only their narrative to be shown. They don't want anybody else's perspective, anybody questioning anything, because all they want is their propaganda. And that's what it all boils down to. They want their propaganda to be shown. They don't want truthers. They don't want people like me and others like me. They don't want us speaking out. They want us to be silenced. So I find that very interesting in and of itself, how they may, here in the near future, as Minutes of Horror talked about, be coming after people like us, people who question the weather, question what's going on, people like me, people like Minutes of Horror, and the list goes on, coming after us just because we question things. And again, it's just absolutely ridiculous, the amount of censorship going on. Now, obviously, not all of the stuff going on is weather manipulation related. A lot of the stuff going on is biblical at that, because again, we are in the end times and there is just a lot of crazy stuff going on. But again, it is just wild how if you do question anything regarding weather manipulation, you have the chance in the near future of getting your channel removed completely, just like during a certain something back in 2020, the C-19 stuff. But there's just a lot of wild things going on, and it's just getting more and more bizarre by the day. Check this out.
What in the world is going on? A mile-wide underwater volcano is ready to blow its top off the west coast. This is allegedly on CNN. I mean, you literally see it right on the TV screen, right? Not that I need to say that, but for this app, TikTok, I'll say that. In the coming months, causing 10,000 earthquakes in one day. Y'all, and completely unrelated and irrelevant, read this headline. Read it. CNN, read it. Again, pause it, read it. The Washington Post. And all of a sudden lately, we're having earthquakes where we don't normally get earthquakes. North and South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, all over the place. Unrelated, by the way. At the same time, we have scientists talking about the Earth's core going in reverse and what they call a pole shift on the way. Unrelated, just showing you cool things I think are cool. This has been a very exciting year. Let me know what you think below.
Something else very interesting is Legoland. Yes, Legoland is offering real IDs to kids, as they continue to promote this real ID stuff. Now, again, I know that this real ID stuff has been around for quite some time, but it really seems as if they are pushing this real ID stuff more and more recently, because honestly, I believe this is more of a test run and a precursor for things to come. I believe that this is setting the stage for a digital ID, because think about it. They have already been testing a digital ID because some states allow you to put your license on your phone. So they have really been testing all of this for quite some time. And I believe that we are entering the final phases of this becoming a reality. What do you think about this?
Having a hard time getting that real ID from the DMV?
Sadly, Legoland can't help you, but it can get your children a Lego version. Starting May 21st, the theme park's driving school attraction is letting your little ones behind the wheel. Kids can drive through a fully immersive Lego city with real Lego traffic signs, stoplights, even an immersive bubble car wash. And there is a bricktastic bonus for park goers this month. You'll receive a limited edition Lego driving school license that looks like a real ID.
I see what they're doing here, because they've had this attraction for a while. We love it. The kids love it. And you do get an ID, but they're putting the stamp of real ID
that's so
on
funny.
it.
So again, I know I can't be the only one to see what they are doing and what they are trying to normalize, because again, they are trying everything in their power to make all of this stuff seem as normal as possible, because eventually it is all going to be a digital ID system. And then eventually after that, it's going to be something that has to go under your skin, a la the mark of the beast. What do you all think about this? Something else I wanted to put into today's show is I wanted to talk about Wolf Creek, Oregon, and how spooky this place really is. And there are just some things you really can't explain. And this next video comes from Bigfoot Society on TikTok. Check this out.
Going down the wrong road in Wolf Creek can put you in a world of trouble. You're about to hear why. Got a very interesting direct message from an individual who will remain anonymous about some things she's experienced over the years up in Wolf Creek, so buckle up for this one. I'll read it as it was sent. I was living in Wolf Creek with my family in the year 2000 to 2002. I was about 10 to 12 at the time, and we moved there to do in-home elderly care for a local woman. My family really enjoys outdoor time and like to go on random drives just to check out scenery and stop in pretty areas. We drove up into the woods. That's all there is up there. And my stepdad had spotted what looked like abandoned gravel road that led to a meadowy creek area with lots of wildflowers. What made this spot particularly creepy was that where the main road met the gravel, it had large boulders placed in front of it, clearly there to keep people from driving into it where the creek was. No matter how many times my mother and older brother pleaded with him not to do it, my stepdad pulled over, got out of the car, and began rolling the rocks out of the way so that we could drive our very unprepared little car down the hill into this secluded little creek area. We pointed out to him that this was clearly something someone had done in order to keep people out, but he assured us it was fine and that nobody would care, because we were in the middle of nowhere. Once we drove down to the bottom and parked the car, we all got out and began walking around a bit, not disturbing anything, but just enjoying how beautiful it was and enjoying the fresh air. We did, however, notice that just beyond the little meadowy area, there was a little hill, and on the other side of that hill looked to be some human activities such as tarps and maybe trash. We didn't go beyond the hill into that area because we knew that it could be potentially hazardous. We were down there for about 10 to 15 minutes before a large old truck could be heard pulling down the dirt road, and I'll never forget what it looked like and what it sounded like. The old rusty brown truck slowly came down the hill and parked directly behind our car. At that point, there would have been no way for us to get out. And my mom told me and my brother to get back in the car and that we were leaving. We hurried back and jumped in. The truck was still behind us and running, but nobody was getting out. My stepdad began waving his hand apologetically and saying sorry that we were about to leave, but nobody responded, and me and my brother watched from inside the car, petrified for what felt forever. We were convinced that we weren't going to make it home that evening. Finally, an old Appalachian-looking man stepped out of the truck and slowly took a few steps towards our car with what appeared to be a gimp in his leg and his hand curled up his sleeve, clearly hiding a pew up his arm. As my dad profusely apologized and explained that we were only looking at the creek and the scenery, the only thing the man said was, "How far did you go?" My dad responded with, "Just the creek. We were only just looking at the creek and all the ferns down there." He asked again, "How far did you go?" My dad jumped in the car and continued apologizing over and over out the window and told the man that we were just wanting to go home, that we were just a family with kids and meant no harm, and we were very sorry and just wanted to leave. The man just stared at us with a terrifying look on his face, not saying a word for a long time. He then slowly turned, got in his truck, and sat in his running truck behind our car for about 10 minutes, staring at us. To this day, we're sure he must have been contemplating whether or not to let us all go or to bury us back behind that hill beyond the meadow in fear of what he thought we might have witnessed back there. Apparently, there was something back there that he didn't want anyone seeing. He slowly backed his truck up to the top of the hill, and we followed in our little red car. As he moved aside, we did a turnaround and whipped out of there, but in the distance we seen that he had gotten out of his truck and began putting the stones back in place, and we never went that far up the road again. Have you experienced anything like this around Wolf Creek? Let me know by putting it in the comments or sending me a DM with your story if you'd like me to share it on the channel. And again, look out when you're in the roads around Wolf Creek, Oregon.
One last thing I wanted to talk about in today's show is New York City Mayor Eric Adams just came out and talked about how he wants to make New York City the crypto capital of the globe. Obviously, globe, if you know what we really live in, and it's not a globe. But I just find this very interesting because Trump continues to push the idea of this crypto stuff. And then you have Eric Adams even talking about it, others talking about it, because this is all tying into the coming digital ID and the digital age.
My goal remains the same as it was on day one as mayor, making New York City the crypto capital of the globe. And as you remember, I supported crypto long before any of my mayoral peers. I was the first American mayor to have my initial 3 paychecks converted into crypto way back in 2022. Many people laughed at me, and all I can say is, who's laughing now? We're seeing.
And as you heard from that clip, it really doesn't surprise me coming from Eric Adams, seeing how Eric Adams is an open Freemason. I mean, come on. It's all truth in plain sight. So you have more and more people coming out pushing this idea of crypto taking over everything, because I believe that the coming one world currency is going to be a digital currency, and it's going to tie into the digital ID and everything else. What do you think about all of this? Do you agree or do you disagree? As always, please consider smashing that like button, because every like helps this video and other videos get into the algorithm. Comment down below, share this video wherever you can think of sharing it. Also, when you do subscribe to the channel, please consider hitting the bell icon and selecting all notifications so you will never miss another upload on the channel. As always, this is your host, Truth Seeker, signing out.